Hi, Linda.
Hey Janine,
I'm
how are
so
you?
excited. I'm good, thank you. I'm really excited to speak to you this evening and hear a bit about your journey so that you can share with the people watching who will be interested to hear your journey, but also hopefully will be inspired by it. So let's start with you just introducing yourself.
Hi, so I'm Linda Williams. I'm trying to remember how to introduce myself without talking about what I do, but but I know because that's part of what we learn on this journey was not just talk about what you do, is who you are. But so I am. I'll start with what I do, what I am. I'm a compliance inspector at the CQC, and I say start with that because it is part of my career story, so to speak. Should I just go into the background and
Yeah.
tell you about myself? Well, so I started off. I'll start in the middle. I started off in my working life as a solicitor, doing crime, and I did both sides. I did defence first, and then thought, I'm not sure this is really gelling with me. So then I switched sides. I went to prosecute for a bit, and then thought, I'm not sure this is really working for me. And the reason why I'm starting there is because I come from a background where parents are quite highly educated and immigrants to this country, sort of first generation immigrants to this country. So for them, there was only a set number of career options and really nothing else registered. So, to be the good daughter that I am, I thought, well, I don't really feel very strongly about anything else. So they must know what they're talking about. So I'm going to do that. I didn't really take the time out to get to know anything about myself and what I wanted to do. So I kind of went down that path and went into law and did that. And then kind of did a bit of a shift and went over into regulation, which is where I am at the moment. So in a nutshell, that's
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for introducing yourself and telling us a bit about your backstory. Um,
Yeah.
so I would love for you to kind of share, where were you when you decided to come and join the program? So what was going on for you? How were you feeling? Share a bit around that.
Okay, great. So I'll just pick up from where I was saying that I switched sides and found that criminal law still wasn't working for me. It just wasn't really speaking to who I am and what my values are. But so I knew that, but I didn't really know what my values were, to be honest with you. I don't think I was very clear because I'd never taken stock in that kind of a way.
Mm.
So I, as I said, switched and went into doing regulation, mainly because, and I'll be honest with you, it was a home working role and I was about to get married and I knew that I wanted to have children quite soon. So it really worked very well because the jobs I'd previously done involved a lot of traveling, and this meant that I could be at home. So I fell into that and have been doing that for 10 years. And my youngest one was turning 4 and starting preschool. And I just thought, I can't do this anymore now. It served its purpose. But I kind of looked back and I thought, I don't, other than my children, obviously, which is a major, blessing and achievement and everything else. But career wise, I really felt like I hadn't moved forward. And so I really had this desire and strong urge to move forward, but I had no idea what that would be in. And I spent ages looking at job ads. I would sign up for all kinds of job alerts. My inbox was constantly being filled with all these job alerts, and none of them spoke to me at all. And everybody's job seemed much more interesting than mine, everything. And so it really was, I was in a complete state. And then I won't even go into the whole story of how I found you.
That's a story for another day. It's so interesting.
It's all quite crazy how that worked out. But in my desperation for inspiration, I started looking for podcasts on career change, and I came across your wonderful podcast that just, I don't know, everything just fell into place at that point. And I thought, all this pressure on you, Janine, but I just thought, if Janine can't help me, then I'm really just done for, and I'm just going to stay in my current role forever. So I listened to a lot of your podcasts and I read a lot and I listened to your TED talk, and I thought, you know what? And even then, how we still met was crazy. or how we met again, should I say. That was absolutely crazy, but everything just fell into place. So yeah, and that's what brought me onto the program.
Yeah. Okay, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And it's good to hear, because I think a lot of people in similar place, in that they know they want to make a change and then they try to go on job boards and look for inspiration, but that doesn't necessarily move the needle in terms of helping them to figure out, is this the path that I want to go down?
Yeah, absolutely.
So once you came into the program, what do you think was the biggest kind of mindset shift that you had once you were in and going through the career change maker process?
Oh yeah, so I had a few of those moments, those whoa moments, as I call them. But I think for me, what always kind of the first thing that comes to mind is recognizing that there are so many possibilities. And as I said earlier, I'd kind of always felt or believed or been told that these were my options, A, B, C, and D. And so I'd never considered anything outside of that. So there's one part in the program where you look at all these different job roles and job titles and everything, and I just found that quite mind-blowing, because it sounds crazy, but I really hadn't realized how many different job roles are out there, and to think that any of these could be a possibility. It was just it was quite crazy, but doing it in a way where I had identified a lot about myself and what my values were and what I felt strongly about, and what I felt would make me feel fulfilled in my work. So I was looking at it through the lens of having that knowledge and that data, which I didn't have before. Before, it was just kind of randomly looking and just getting overwhelmed. But now I was actually able to narrow it down, and that was quite profound for me. Just doing it through that lens of having evidence and having data and having spoken to people and having done a lot of introspection, I suppose. It was a more meaningful process. So the results were like, when I saw the results, I was like, yes, this definitely gels, with that kind of gap that I've been trying to fill. It made sense.
Yeah. And what I love about you is that you just came in and you were dedicated. Like, you did the exercises, even when it was uncomfortable, you did the work. And I remember when we got to the stage where we were looking at options, and then you identified an option that you thought would be where you'd want to go. And you kind of showed how important it is to test your ideas, because you tested the idea and then came back and was like, I don't think it's for me.
That's right, yeah.
So can you speak to more like how that felt? Because you were getting clarity in terms of, okay, I've got options, but then actually doing the piece around, is this actually where I want to go? Like, how did it feel to go through that process, and then what came on the other side?
For me, that was quite amazing, because honestly speaking, before I was just glad to get an interview or to get a job, and that was kind of what it was about for me, was just remaining employed and having a job, and if it paid more money, then great. And that was pretty much my criteria. But I found that, actually being able to say, this is not for me, and walking away and not trying to force the point, and like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make myself fit into this, into this job. I'm going to make myself work. And that's what I'd kind of always done. I'd found a job. I thought, well, this will work for me. The money's okay for me or whatever. And, I can live with it. I can make myself like it. And that's why it had never, ever worked. And this was the first time on this program that I actually recognized that and said that's the reason why you haven't found fulfillment. It's because we're just forcing yourself into whatever comes along. Whereas through this process, I was actually able to say, no, this isn't going to be me. And I don't have to just go down a certain route, because I don't know, because someone else that I know is doing it and has made it work, or or the money, or what the conditions, or whatever. I actually could say, this isn't speaking to who I am. This is not going to make me feel fulfilled. This does not tick those boxes. And that was really empowering, because just I felt like I had the power to say no, and and that's something which I hadn't had, realistically, being honest. You know, I hadn't really approached my career in that way before this.
Oh my gosh, I get so excited when I hear that, because you're totally right. It's moving from a place of I have to I want to, and being empowered. And in that process, just seeing your confidence grow in like yourself, and just be like, I've got a lot to bring to the table, and like I can totally do this. It's just so lovely to see. What would you say was most useful in terms of the structure of the program, or was there anything in particular that stands out to you that you found most beneficial in terms of the delivery and how we go about guiding you through?
Because I came, when I initially joined, I think what I was expecting was, maybe it's because, you know, we spend so long going to school that we become conditioned, you know. So you think, oh, we're going to sit together, we're going to go through the exercises, and together, you know, we'll put our hands up and answer questions, and, you know, that's kind of what I was expecting. But it's not like that, you know. And actually the way that it's delivered and the way that you've designed the program, it allows you to really take the time to think about what you're doing and what your answers and how you're responding to like the various phases. So when I think about it now, reflecting back, had it been a kind of classroom style question and answer, I don't think that I would have got away and done the work, because I would have just thought, oh, we'll just do it in the session, you know, so I don't really need to do anything else. But because in between sessions, you know you have to put in the work in order to get the full benefit from the coaching sessions, you know, the fortnightly coaching sessions. You have to have put in the work in between. And so I found that for me that worked really well, because I know that I would just revert to laziness, or not laziness as such, but lack of organisation, not being that organised. And I would have kind of said, oh, I'll just do it during the session, you know, flag my way through it, you know. But there's nowhere to hide, you know. You have to have done the work. So
there's nowhere to hide. I was like, so Linda, what do you think?
I know, and you think, oh my gosh, like I really need to have done this beforehand, otherwise I'm going to look so silly. So,
I love it. Accountability.
Yeah, exactly. And you know that everybody else in the cohort is looking at you like, yes, Linda, so what did you think about? You don't want to be the one that's then obviously having not done the work. So, and actually that was really great, because the value of doing it in your own space, in your own time, you know, when you can really just focus on what you're doing and really pull those threads together, you know, it has to be done, you know, you have to do that in your own time in order to really bring something valuable and beneficial back to the coaching calls.
Yeah. And it was so nice to see, like, as the weeks progress, as a cohort, how you then start paying attention to each other's journeys and kind of remembering, you know, like you'll be on a call and say, oh, I remember you said this then, like, how does that compare to this? And sometimes I could just sit back and be like, oh, look at them coaching each other.
Definitely. And hearing other people's journeys, you know, it's incredible that, you know, you could come from different kind of backgrounds and careers and whatever, but we all face the same challenges. You know, we all get to that point where we think, I don't know what I want to do, but I know I don't want to do this anymore. You know, I know I'm not prepared to settle. I'm not prepared to just say I'm doing what I'm doing, that's who I am and that's who I'm going to be. You know, everybody comes with that mindset of, I want to change my situation. And just hearing somebody else saying what you're thinking is so empowering as well, and so validating, because you don't feel like, you know, you're just having a moan or being ungrateful. You know, some people say you should be grateful, you've got this job, or you could do this and you could do that, and you just think, oh, am I being ungrateful? You know, is it me? Should I be enjoying this? You know, like but when you hear other people who, you know, are in that same situation, it's really empowering, and it makes you feel more free to be really honest about how you're feeling and what you're experiencing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just amazing to me how people start off the cohort as strangers, and then the vulnerability that happens during our sessions and like people will share, it's just beautiful. Like for me, just to observe over the weeks, I'm just like, oh, so nice.
I imagine from where you are, you really see the transition. I think, you know, when you're really in it, you just feel really frantic and like, am I making progress? Am I moving forward? But I imagine you get to see that whole journey from the outside, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm so excited about where you are now. So like,
yeah.
shared a bit about how you felt before. So how are you feeling now, and what would you say has been the biggest breakthrough for you as you've now completed the process?
Yeah. So I think actually having identified a career path that gives me butterflies, like, like literally, it's like it's going to sound really funny, but it's like when you meet that person, do you know what I mean? Like, and you think, oh my goodness, like this could really be it. Do you know what I mean? This could be the one. It's exactly that same feeling of like, you can't stop. I'm constantly scrolling through my phone when I shouldn't be, and I should be doing something else. But I'm like, oh, what's going on now? And I'm looking at, I could say, looking at going into mediation. So any article on mediation, anybody posts anything, anybody releases a new podcast, anybody mentions the word, something goes ping in my brain, and I'm like, what are they talking about? What was that? What was that? And I'd never felt like that about a role before. So I can only really say it feels like, when you meet that person, you feel like this is the one that I'm going to be with, this is the one I'm going to marry, whatever. That's how I feel now. I'm really, I'm just immersed in it, I suppose, and because it just connects with who I am and what my values are now that I've identified them.
Yeah.
And how I want to work. Do you know what I mean? And the kind of autonomy that I want to have, and the kind of difference that I can see myself making in people's lives. I can see the path, and where the benefit will come from. And that to me is just, it's really, really exciting. So to come from where I was a few months ago, where I just felt like this was last chance saloon for me, and this, Janine, I said this, I went into this thinking, I don't think I'm going to find the career I want. I'll probably maybe just a few hints and tips, and I'll just go back to my day job, and then I think I was skeptical but desperate, if we put it that way.
Yeah.
But so really, I think I came in with my expectations I was managing my expectations, should I say, because I felt like if it didn't work out, I didn't want to really be, disappointed.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that even though that's how I was feeling, I came in and I said to myself, you're going to do the work and you're going to make it. You're going to do what you need to do, and whatever the outcome is, you need to be able to say, I committed to the process, and I really did my best. So I can say that, and I can say, yes, I have identified my ideal job. And I say job, I don't really see it as a job. Sorry, I know I'm talking really fast. I'm talking quite a lot now, but I don't see it as a job. I don't. I just see it as like, this is how I want my life to be. This is how I want to work. This is what I want to commit myself to doing. This is what I enjoy doing. It doesn't feel like it's a job. It will be a job.
Yeah. Oh, I love it, because it's just the fact that you're bringing in all of those different factors that we talk about and getting to the place where you're like, is this aligned? And what I love is that, in the first phase, when we do that introspection work and you kind of share and we go through your DISC profile and we look at who are you as a person, how do you like to show up, I get to see that. And then fast forward, and then when you're like, oh, I'm thinking about going into mediation, I'm like, yes, yes. Like, it's so aligned, it makes so much sense. Like, yes, that is, I co-sign that, tap like,
absolutely, yeah. And that is how I felt as well, just this moment of
yeah. Oh, I love it. Okay, so if you were speaking to someone who's listened to this and is in the same place that you were at the beginning and is thinking about getting some support, what would you say to them in terms of whether this would be a good program for them, or what words of advice would you have for them around the next step?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I would absolutely say that this is the program for them, because look at me, I was the skeptical one, I was thinking, I don't know, we'll see how it goes. But I never thought that I would actually identify something outside of what I was already doing. I really didn't. I just thought this is just going to affirm for me that this is what I should be doing. And that's probably what I was thinking, but just having the freedom and feeling like you've got the permission, if I could put it that way, to actually think, well, what do you want to do, and who are you, and what matters to you, and what gets you going, what is that thing that makes you feel excited, that gives you those butterflies, and actually just having the permission to say, you know what, I'm on a program, so I've got every right to allow myself to think about these things, and it's funny how empowering it is just being part of something, being part of something with other people and getting that guidance and getting that advice and that validation. It for me, it just gave me that green light to say it's okay for you to think about what you really want to do and who you really are and what really makes you feel fulfilled. That to me, was unexpected. But it has been, for me, has made all the difference, because I wouldn't have done it otherwise, because I literally felt like I should just be grateful to be where I am.
That is so huge.
I don't know if that answers your question though.
No, it does answer the question, and it's so huge, because I think there's so many people who are in that boat where they don't even realize that they need permission, and that they've just gone from one thing to another thing in their career because that's how you do it, but not actually questioned whether or not this is right for them. So you just sharing your experience and that shift is like, it's gold. It's gold.
Absolutely. And I would say as well, and you said this at the beginning, and now I see why you said that, you need to trust the process, because sometimes you think, why am I doing this? Like, what has it got to do with anything? Why has Janine asked me to do this? I really don't understand why. But just putting aside all those, how we're just programmed to question, but just allowing yourself to be almost like a child and just say, I've been told to do this, so I'm going to do it. At the beginning, it was like, I don't really know why. But as you go along and it starts to make sense, and you start to have those moments when you think, oh, yeah, that is me actually, or yeah, I am like that actually, and yes, actually I do like that, and I'd stopped doing it years ago, but and you start to go on this sort of rediscovering yourself process, and then seeing how you can kind of shift it into your career, so it becomes your life and not just like a job that's separate from who you are. But you need to go through that process in order to be able to merge those two together.
Yeah.
And
it's so interesting as well to see like you develop skills inside of the program. So like I remember when we first talked about going out and networking and having informational interviews with people, and you were a bit like, oh, what's this now? Like, no. What is this now, Janine? And I was like, look, can you just trust the process? Look, I'll give you a script, I'll tell you what to say, I'll tell you where to find the people, you just got to do it. And then fast forward, literally, I think maybe the last 3 coaching calls, you would come in and be like, yeah, I just had another one. Just had 2 more informational interviews this week. I spoke to this amazing person. I'm just like, look at you.
I know. I remember nodding, going, but in my head I was like, I'm not doing that. But it's so funny how and you said it as well, that people like talking about themselves, and if they can help you, they will. I think sometimes we just think that people are just naturally sort of selfish and won't want to help anybody and don't want to have their time wasted, and that's kind of, I suppose, the impression that I had, that they're just going to think, who is this strange person contacting me? I don't know you, I don't have time for this, but that has so not been my experience. It's incredible how forthcoming people will be, especially if you contact them via LinkedIn, because I think they can see who you are, what your background is, and that you're a serious person, and they feel, I think, more confident and comfortable communicating. But it's been great. Just today, actually, I was having a sort of mini informational interview via LinkedIn with this lady who's amazing. She's a real, one of the sort of trailblazers in the field. And she reached out because I just commented on one of her articles, which is something else that you talked about. I pressed like, and I just said, oh, I completely agree with you, although I would say, and I came up with something thoughtful and deep. And then she liked it and said, oh yeah, very interesting observation, or something along those lines. And I thought, oh my goodness, she's talking to me, like, because she's so well known, like international mediator, sort of, that kind of a level. And then she messaged me to say, if you need any help or whatever, just reach out. And yeah, and I would never have done that, you know, like 4 months ago. Absolutely no way. I would have just admired her from a distance, you know.
Amazing. Oh, I'm so proud of you. I'm like, look at her go.
I know, I don't recognize myself, but I like this me.
Yes. So what would you say you're most excited about going forward now? Like now that you're here and you're getting yourself immersed in the field, because what's great is, you know, you've decided on the path and now you're taking the actual action that's required for you to make that transition and doing all of the groundwork that a lot of people don't do when it comes to making a transition and immersing yourself in the industry, networking with people. You're doing all the right things. So what are you most excited about?
Oh, well, the main thing that I keep imagining is the day that I resign. That's a major day for me, you know, because I don't hate my job and I work for a great organization, but you know, my time there is just done, you know. So I'm looking forward to just drawing that line and saying, yeah, no, I'm doing this now, you know, I'm actually going. And so for me, that is a major moment for me, and I'm going to make sure that I take that in, because after that I'm stepping out into the unknown, you know. I'm for the first time going to be doing something where I'm self-reliant and self-employed, and it all is going to fall on my shoulders because I'm determined to do this freelance. And I know, and I was able to say I don't want to be offered a job, which is huge, because that's all I've ever wanted up until this point, was to be offered a job. But I don't want to be offered, you know, employment, so to speak. I want to be able to go out there and find my own work, and you know, and yeah, referrals and everything else, of course. But for me to be able to pick and choose what I do is huge. And getting involved in mediations about things that matter to me and things that I care about. I'm looking forward to that. I'm really excited about that, because I know that's going to be really validating for me. And just looking forward to setting up my own business, you know, and with all of the unknowns that brings. But I feel like I'm at a point in my life where I'm ready for that. And because I'm doing it in something that I feel very passionately about, you know, I'm just looking forward to just living, eating, sleeping and dreaming it, basically. So now it's just getting that accreditation done in a couple of weeks' time. And then, yeah, just looking forward to just moving forward and making it happen.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm so happy for you.
Yeah.
So excited.
Thank you.
Just beyond, I say it's so funny, right? Because whenever one of my clients get their moment of like, yes, this is what I want to do, or they land a job, I run in and I'm like to my husband, oh my gosh, Linda's doing this, and he's like, just looking at me like, okay. I'm like, you don't understand, like, you don't understand where she started and where she is now. He's like, great.
But that's that you've got that passion. That's the passion for what you do, and that's what I've been lacking all along. You know, it was the way that you feel when you see us, you know, get out there and identify what we want to do and go for it, and you know, everything falls into place. That's what I'm talking about, you know. That's how I'm feeling about my future as well, that I'll just talk about it until people are rolling their eyes and I won't care. You know, I literally won't care. You know, my husband will be avoiding me, like, oh no, she's going to start talking about it again. Let me go to the toilet, lock the door, you know. You know, but I'm like, fine, I'll talk to you through the door, you know, you're not going to escape me that easily. So I'm just, I just feel like I've just got that second lease of life now, and just looking forward to doing something that matters to me, you know, and that helps people, you know. I just think that there can't be anything better that you can do with your life, really.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. I have no doubt it's going to inspire lots of people, and keep me posted, of course, in terms of, you know, when everything happens.
Absolutely. And yeah, like I said, I just thank you, Janine, you know, because I know it's easy to say, oh, you're a career coach, that's what you do. But actually, again, going back to what you do and who you are, this is who you are, you know, and that genuine care and concern that you have for helping people to transition and be happier and more fulfilled in their lives, you know, that's the real. And I don't think you can just put that on, you know. It's either you are concerned for others and you have the heart to do that, or you don't, you know, and you definitely do. So thank you so much, and keep it up. And I will be I will be giving you regular updates, you know, until you're like, oh, okay, Linda.
I will never be. I will like, keep coming. Keep telling me what's going on.
Oh no, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Linda.
Yeah, thank you, Janine.